So if you're wondering what a loofah gourd is, I've got one right here. It is a very spongy material. When they're fresh, they're very spongy. And they actually look like this when they're growing on the vine. So they're in the squash family, and they are edible, but it's just, they're edible when they're at their smaller size. I'll show you a small one here. So when they're this little size versus this. So they're edible when they're like 7-8 inches long, not when they're like this long. This isn't, no. So we're going to be covering a couple different informational tidbits here in this video. This is my second year trying to grow loofah gourds, and it was a challenge in the beginning because I didn't realize that it took quite so long to mature. It takes about 200 days for it to completely mature, and in our climate, which is here in Ohio, the zone we're in is on the border of 5 and 6, so it definitely, I didn't have enough time to let them all get to the mature level as to where they needed to be. A lot of the videos and information that I watched was from people that were in Florida and warmer climates where the gourd was allowed to just dry all the way, turn completely brown, and you could hear the seeds rattling around, and you definitely will not hear any rattling in there. So it's still very heavy. So we have a couple different challenges that we're going to have to face since we're going to be harvesting these squash before they're actually really ready. Sometimes you can get lucky and use them, but other times they're just not ready at all. So I wanted to kind of walk you through some of the things that I've been learning along this journey of loofah gourds, and just sort of shed some light so that way you guys don't have to go through all of the trial and error that I did, because last year I ruined all of my loofah gourds due to mold and things like that. So this year I think I've got a little bit better of a grasp, but just wanted to show you guys some tidbits so you can have a more successful outcome with this. So far I've harvested, I would say probably, I don't know, maybe 10, and this is my yield. So there's another piece here. So this was one right here that I peeled and cut into sections, and so I'm going to show you how we go about doing this. So anyway, the first part is very fun. It's very Flintstone-ish. You remember Bam Bam on the Flintstones, how he had that big old club in his hand? Well, we're going to get Bam Bam here. So we're going to basically just beat this on the counter or on a hard surface. Go work your way all the way around, and what it does is it helps the pulp and everything stick to the skin, so that way you can make it easier to peel, which will be very handy when you have to do so many loofahs, because it will start to make your cuticles and fingers pretty raw, maybe crack a little bit. Oh! So I like to just kind of twist it around and bang all of it. And then turn it on the other way here. I would not skip this step, especially with it being still so ripe and green. It's a very important step to do. It'll make your life so much easier. Alright, so let's see what we have here. You see how we kind of unzip it right down there? And then you can just sort of take your finger, go right up through there. And peel it open. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to get away from the skin. Some places are easier than others. And that's why banging it on the counter really helps sort of loosen it up. And then sometimes if you run it under the water, it will help the peel come off a little easier as well. So if this was already dried completely, it would not be this hard to get the peel off. But since it's still green and fresh, you have to go through the painstaking process of getting the skin off. Okay, we got that off. That's good. Let's take a look here. So this is what we've got. Now, I like to cut it into these smaller sections. So I usually cut it in about thirds, and I'll show you why. Because you see here, we have all this meat. So if this was a completely matured and dried loofah gourd, we would not have all of this meat substance in here. It would have turned into more loofah, more of the spongy material. So right on the inside is where all of the seeds are, kind of like it's kind of hard, like a corn on the cob on the inside. But you can see that the seeds here are white and they're not mature, so you're not going to be able to plant those. I was able to get some plants that were mature enough, so I've been able to save the black seeds. So I'm going to be drying these out and be able to plant these for next year. Obviously not all of them, but just a couple. You only need a couple of plants because, well, I mean, just I guess depending on how many you want, but I think I grew about 6 plants this year, and this is what I have left. So all of those little ones are going to be, some are going to be sauteed up and eaten or frozen, and then some other ones are going to be given to my dad's chickens. So none of it will go to waste. But I also wanted to show you a loofah gourd that is just completely not even ready to be used as a loofah. And that is right here. So I had peeled this one a little bit earlier, and I don't know if you can see or not, but it's not even formed any of the spongy material. It's just all meat in there. Like, you can see how thin of a material it is. So, you know, and this one was about, you know, this size, the length of my arm or so to my elbow. So it wasn't really ready. So ones this size aren't ready. They need to go, you know, a lot longer. these right here were starting to turn brown, and you know, so they'll probably have the black seeds in them, since they were able to go, you know, long enough to maturity. So we can check that out here in a little bit. So anyway, I want to show you, continue showing you the process that I have gone through to get them to looking like this, because it's challenging. There's a lot of cleanup involved. So I will keep showing you here. Slice another piece off. Alright. We're going to start running it under the water. And as you can see, all that meat, all that white stuff still in there. We've got to get that out. Because if we allow that to stay in the gourd when we're drying it, more than likely it's going to rot and mold. So I will take a wooden spoon, the end of the handle there, and just poke it through. And just try and get out some of that meat in there. And the consistency of the meat is kind of like a really mushy banana. So that's just kind of what it feels like. And I turn it around and poke it out the other side. So you wouldn't have to go through all this if it was matured on the vine, but it's not, so it's what we got to deal with. Live and learn. And then I like to rinse it under the water and just try and squeeze it as much as I can to help break loose some more of the banana type substance or the meaty substance in there. And it's really slippery. And you see all the soap bubbles down here? I mean, it's not soap bubbles, but it's just from the gourd itself. So there's no soap in here at all, but it's just kind of neat how it makes it look soapy like that. And after I have poked the spoon through there, the inside is still really hard, but it's also got a lot of seeds. You see all those little white seeds in there? It is just full of seeds. And so I'm going to attempt to get a little bit more of those out, plus scrape out a little bit more of the meat. So what I like to do is hold it under the water and just squash it. Just push down real hard. And that helps to loosen up the seeds out of there and allows a little bit more stuff to become dislodged. You can squeeze out some more of the meat and some more of the seeds. Run it under the water some more. And then from here, I will take a toothbrush and scrape the insides of it to get even more stuff out. Get all that meat off. Dislodge some of the seeds. Squeeze out the other end, and then go ahead and turn it over and do the same thing to the other side. So we're just scraping the sides, scraping out all that stuff, poking seeds out. You're still going to have a lot of seeds left in there. And so as they dry, as your gourds are drying, you can shake some more out. Squeeze it out real good. Okay. Now it's starting to look a little cleaner in there, but you still see all those seeds. So the next thing I'll do is stick my fingers in the holes and just kind of grab it with 3 fingers like that, and just, you see some of the seeds coming out. Just try and get out as many seeds as you can on this round, and then I'll switch to a different section and seeds go flying everywhere. And then I'll flip it around and do the same thing to the other side. There, now you can see I've got a lot of the seeds out, and it looks pretty good. So that's pretty much the process you have to go through, at least just to get it to this point. So we still need to, once I get all of the gourds to this stage right here, I will soak them in soapy water and just try and get them clean that way. And it's recommended to, after you've rinsed the soapy water off, to submerge them in a little bit of bleach water to help kill any extra fungus or mold or anything like that that might be growing on it. So I'm actually going to do a little experiment. I'm going to do a couple of them in bleach water. I'm going to do a couple of them in vinegar water, and then I'm going to do a few with just the plain soapy water and see how that goes. And then, so once we've got them all cleaned like that, then you typically want to set them outside for about 3 weeks and let the sun really hit down on them and really dry them, and rotating them, you know, frequently. So I'm also going to be doing, so that will help sort of whiten and bleach the loofahs to look a little more appealing and white anyway. But I am going to be doing another experiment as well, where I dry some of them inside, just in my inside drying rack, just with the air flowing on them, and see how they do. So just a lot of trial and error this go around, but I'm a little further than what I was last year. I actually started these seeds indoors. It was in about March, I believe. So I started the seeds inside, and then after the last frost, probably 2 weeks after the last frost, I finally got them in the ground. And I'll show you a picture of, you know, I tried to extend, we were getting a frost, and I tried to cover them up with some plastic to maybe extend a little bit of their growing time, but it did not help at all. And I'll show you guys some pictures in the box below that you can take a look at and see how I had them growing up a trellis. They do need trellises to grow on. So anyway, this is some of the process that we have to go through if you live in the colder climates and they're not quite ready, like some of the other videos. And so thanks for tuning in, and let me know if you have any tricks or tips or suggestions to make things a little easier, and or let me know if you have any comments or questions. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.